All right, Parshat Bo. In this week's Parsha, we're going to conclude the 10 plagues that hit Egypt, Pharaoh, and his men. And we're going to see how in this week's Parsha, the Jews were finally freed. Okay, and what happened last week's Parsha, we had 7. This week's Parsha, we had 3, the final 3. Now, what was the final 3? You guys know, right? The final 3 was first, locust, darkness, and Bechorot.
What is locust?
Locust is the grasshoppers, arbe. Arbe, okay. Arbe, actually, just so you should know, according to Me'am Loez, it wasn't only arbe. Arbe is one type of grasshopper. There were 7 types of grasshoppers that came to Egypt. And they have the list over here of what the names of the 7 types are. Arbe, Salam, Khargol, Chagav, Gazam, Yelek, and Chasil. These are the 7 types of grasshoppers that went to Egypt, excuse me. And according to Moshe, he said that there will never be a type of plague like this ever in history. All 7 types of grasshoppers will come into one place. And for farmers, it's a nightmare. They come, eat all my plants, eat all my fruit, and leave me with nothing. And for us today, it's a nightmare. When we have bugs in our fruit and our vegetables, it's a nightmare. What we have to do. We Jews pay double for our salads and fruits and vegetables, always, wherever we go. Because the way they clean it, right? How do they clean it? Did you ever see how they clean lettuce?
It's salt, no?
With salt. I wish it was only with salt.
Salt and salt.
No, bro.
When you buy
When you buy a packaged
packaged lettuce,
lettuce or packaged like spinach, do you know what they went through to clean it? They went through process of cleaning, soaping, filtering. 3 times they did it. I saw a video on Facebook. It's a lot of bugs of what happens, and just imagine that's only if in case there's a bug in there. But in Egypt over here was a swarm of bugs, of grasshoppers. It was so many grasshoppers that it blocked out the sunlight and it made Egypt dark. So there was no light because it was so dark.
But it's not the Makat Choshek.
It wasn't Makat, it was not Makat Choshek yet. It was just dark because the sun couldn't hit the earth because the grasshoppers on top, in between the earth and the sun. It was like that. Secondly, it was so many grasshoppers that you couldn't even see the earth anymore.
They were on the floor.
They were on the floor, yeah. You just couldn't see them. And it says the Midrash over here says that there was, Moshe said that we're gonna hit the grasshopper is gonna hit on all the borders of Egypt. And in that time of the 10 plagues, Egypt was in a war with Canaan. And about where we are, where our borders are. Meaning how much land that we're supposed to take, how much land you're supposed to take, right? So, because the grasshoppers came and covered the borders of Egypt, Canaan already knew, now we know where our land is, and now we know for a fact where your land is. Because it's all covered in grasshoppers. Whatever covered in grasshoppers is obviously yours. We have nothing to do with this. And whatever is not covered with grasshoppers is obviously ours.
And they were not Jewish in Canaan, right?
No, not at that time.
so surrounding nations just saw what was happening in Egypt. They didn't experience any of it.
They did experience, only tourists experienced. Tourists, like people who go on vacation and went to Egypt, they went through what they went through. And we're going to see later on in the Parsha, in the Shiur, that the ones who were visiting Egypt during the Plague of Firstborns they died.
Why would anybody go visit Egypt during the 10?
It's a phenomenon. What do you mean? It's crazy. What? Egypt? This is what's happening in Egypt? Let's go check it out, see what's happening. Chernobyl, like I mentioned last week, people go there as a tourist, as like a tour vacation. People go to Chernobyl, see what happened. You remember what happened in Chernobyl? Remember I told you? Remember the place I told you about Chernobyl? Chernobyl, I said, was a place where there was a nuclear leak and a radiation, and now it was just covered like wasteland. People go there on vacation. Why would you go there? I want to see what happens. So over here, people want to go to Egypt. And plus, by the way, Egypt, let's remember, Egypt was Las Vegas of the world. Not so long before this, Yosef was the one that made the whole world come and sell them everything they got. You want food? Pay me. You don't got money? Give me your land. So now Egypt became headquarters of the world. So, even after the grasshoppers, God had hardened Paro's heart, and he did not let the Israelites go, even after this. And then we move on to the plague of darkness. And the plague of darkness was crazy. The first 3 days, they weren't able to see. The second 3 days, they weren't able to move because the darkness was so thick that they weren't able to move. It was literally like they were like inside some sort of shell of darkness, and it wasn't an absence of light kind of darkness. It was the darkness that the 6 days of creation before sun, the earth was covered in darkness.
Like black matter?
I don't know what that is. What is that?
It's like the opposite of matter, of black. Some things we can't see.
I guess.
In space, what's in space? The black. It's black everywhere.
But you can move in there, no?
Yeah, you're right.
So I guess it's not that. Because they literally were not able to move. And if they weren't able to move, so they weren't able to move. Like imagine, you're walking around, and then you have an itch, or you're about to stand up, and then you're in a position to move, you can't move. And I stuck like this 3 days, and your nose itches, or you're about to get up. So imagine standing still wherever you are in life, whatever moment or body position you're in, you're stuck. This is how it is. My leg cramps, my back hurts, my arms is tired. You can't move. That is 3 days. But wherever the Jew goes, there's light around him. Like nothing happened. He walks around and he doesn't see darkness. He sees Egyptians like this, standing still. He doesn't know why. You know what I'm saying? So that was crazy. And in that, what was special about the darkness? Because like I said last week, in that time, Hashem was filtering out the Jewish people. Who was with Hashem? Step forward. Who was not with Hashem? This is where you die. You're not coming with me. And he did it in darkness because he didn't want the Egyptians to see, obviously, that this is what Hashem is doing to his own children. Right? And the Zohar says, so it was a 6-day plague, right? As we know, like we said last week, plague lasts for 7 days. This plague was for 6 days. The 7th day is reserved for the times of Mashiach.
Geulah?
Geulah, yeah. Right?
It's the opposite of Geulah, like before.
No, basically, the 7th day that should have happened then, did not happen then, and it's going to happen in the end of days of darkness. But there's 2 ways to look at it. Is it going to be a physical darkness or like a metaphorical darkness? So some people say it's going to be a physical darkness. You literally will not be able to see because the Mashiach is coming. It's going to be a times of war and like no light and stuff like that. Other people say that it's going to be a times of darkness of not knowing who you are. Not knowing who you are, not knowing what you have to do, not knowing who Hashem is. That kind of darkness. Before the end of time, people are going to be so lost in the world that we just need help. We need Hashem's light to illuminate our personal darkness. So it could be translated in either or. That's what the Zohar says. So moving on. So in the end of this plague, Pharaoh in fact did allow the Jews to leave Egypt. However, he said, but leave your sheep and cattle here, so I know you're coming back. Like a collateral, right? So Moshe says, how are we going to go to the desert and give carbonot, sacrifices to Hashem, if all of our animals are here? So then the next pasuk after that says, not the next pasuk, but after that it said, Hashem hardened Pharaoh's heart again, and he was no longer willing to let them go. So Pharaoh told Moshe, and he actually threatened him, leave from here and don't come back. And don't ever come and see my face, because the day you come see my face, we all know, I'm going to kill you. And what did Moshe answer him back? You agree with him. Okay, fine. I'm not going to see your face anymore. But probably he was whispering in his own mind, saying in his own head, but don't worry, you're gonna come back and see me. So then what happened? He gives them a warning, tells them about Makat Bukhorot, right? Firstborns. All the firstborns of Egypt is gonna die. Okay, and this is when I was saying the tourists, the people who are coming to visit Egypt, if they were firstborn, they would also die. Okay, all of them are gonna die. So Paro did not heed his words, as we shall soon see. He didn't care, and in this time, after the warning that Hashem told Moshe told Paro. After that warning, Hashem gave 2 mitzvot to the Jewish people. First mitzvah was
To call the names, something like that. To have a name.
No, I don't know what you're saying.
I don't know. I heard it from a drasha. I wanted to have a name.
What do you mean a name?
Like maybe to so they can have like a nation. You know what I mean?
You mean Korban Pesach?
I don't know. I heard it from somewhere. I don't know.
All right. Do you know?
Is it the slaughter in the blood?
That was the second one. The first one was the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh. The first mitzvah he gave to the Jewish people as a whole in Egypt was mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh. Today, count Rosh Chodesh Nisan. From here on forward, when the moon recycles, it's going to be a Rosh Chodesh for you. That's your first mitzvah. Second mitzvah was, like what you said, slaughter the lamb, the Korban Pesach. Eat it, roast it, put the blood around, and so on and so forth. So now the question would be why Rosh Chodesh would be the first mitzvah that he gives to. He could have given anything, right? But why Rosh Chodesh?
We read it every day in Kadesh Li. This is the day, the 15th of Nisan. That's why I freed you. Remember?
No, that's Rosh Chodesh of Nisan. But he gave Rosh Chodesh of every year, every month of the year. So he was teaching them time. You guys are going to be the masters of time, and that's what makes a person free. If a person can master his own time, he is a free person. How do we know this? Think about it. If a person is always busy with people telling them what to do in life, like people schedule what you have to do. This time you're doing X, that time you're doing X, all the way until 24 hours of the hour. So what freedom does this person have, right? But if a person knows how to manage his own time or her own time, they can say 9 to 5 I work, 5 to 6 I go home, 6 to 8 is family time. I could do whatever I want. Or 8 to 9 I go learn. This is my time. I know what I'm doing every moment of the time. And if his wife or her husband ever calls at any given moment of the time, I know exactly what they are doing because they have control over their time. So a 9 to 5 at work, right? It's impossible that's going to happen that I call you at 4 o'clock and you're not working. Well, so you're going out of your schedule? Something happened? What's going on? Why aren't you managing your own time? You know what I mean? So sometimes people need to learn how to manage their own time. So Hashem is saying that I'm giving you the mastery, the knowledge of time, and you have to understand that the Jewish calendar is all based on Rosh Chodesh. When the Sanhedrin, when the Eidim come, when the witnesses come to Sanhedrin, to the great sages, and tell them that we saw a new moon, and they witness them, you saw, yeah, this and that, okay, then we decide that today is Rosh Chodesh. So because of the fact that they decide today is Rosh Chodesh, that means they know when is going to be the holiday of that month. Because they know when Rosh Chodesh is. So they are the ones in charge of saying when the holiday is. And the whole thing, we have 2 days holiday, and Israel has 1 day holiday, is given from the Rabbanan. Midah Rabbanan that we have 2 days and they have 1 day. Midah Torah is 1 day. Midah Rabbanan is 2 days. But you see the power that the Chachamim have to give us an extra day holiday. So there's no bracha levatala here. You don't say a blessing in vain. Because it's Midah Rabbanan, it's from the rabbis, and that's the power that we have. We are master of our own time. Second reason why Hashem gave us Rosh Chodesh first mitzvah was because Rosh Chodesh is a woman's holiday. It's a minhag a very strong minhag, that women do not do any hard labor, washing dishes, cleaning, laundry on Rosh Chodesh, and because it's a women's holiday. And also it's another strong minhag, another strong custom, that men give gifts to the women, to their wives, or maybe take them out to eat, or help them out in the house, or whatever it is, only because it's a women's holiday. Now you're going to ask me, how is it a women's holiday? What's the connection of women to Rosh Chodesh? I asked a rhetorical question. I wouldn't assume you guys know this, because this is very difficult. Like, what's their connection? Difficult, right?
The cycle, no?
Nice. So being that 30 days of the woman's
28. 28, I think.
28, 30, some women have a different. They have a 30-day cycle, just like the.
Rosh Chodeshes are 2 days, so it ends up being 28.
So for women, it's not fully 30, it's not fully a month, but it's always a monthly cycle of a woman. So just like the moon renews every 30 days, so too the woman also renews basically her body renews every 30 days to a new cycle, like the woman. And the moon is a reflection of the sun. The sun is a representative of the husband, and the moon is a reflection of the woman, who's a representative of the woman, who's a reflection of the husband. Shall I say it again? So the sun represents the husband, the moon represents the wife. And what is the job of the moon? To reflect the husband, the sun. Okay? When the sun shines, the only reason why the moon has light is because the moon is taking the light from the sun. Okay? Just like a wife and a husband. If a husband and wife wants a good relationship, the husband shouldn't go out and try to change the wife. The husband should first change himself, and the wife will then imitate the husband. That is the moon being a reflection of the sun. That is the wife being a reflection of the husband. So, and it is fitting for Hashem to give the first mitzvah to the Jewish people to be a woman's mitzvah, is because the whole reason why the Jews came out of Egypt is because of a woman. Remember at Parshat Shemot? A few weeks ago I said, Paro said to kill all the male boys because one of them is going to be a leader. So Amram, Moshe's father, divorced his wife. And their daughter Miriam, came over to her father and said, "You're worse than Paro. Paro is trying to get rid of all the boys. You are getting rid of the boys and the girls." So they got back together, and because they got back together, they had a son named Moshe, and this Moshe was the one to redeem all of Israel. So because of that, what she told her father, she was the reason why the redemption of Egypt happened. And because of that is why the first mitzvah given to the Jewish people was a woman's holiday. Crazy, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, she knows it even without the moon.
What do you mean
She doesn't have to know the Rosh Chodesh in order to know when is the time.
Miriam?
No, any woman.
Okay.
For the thing, like, she doesn't have to know according to the moon.
She doesn't go according to the moon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's why it's like.
No, just like the moon renews every month, it's the same thing that woman does every month. But not that women rely on the moon.
Yeah, that's why.
It's not relying on the moon. We're looking at the moon. When is the moon? It's not like that. We only do that. Where's the moon? Just to know when Rosh Chodesh is.
But it also has like a lot more to do with that, because everything a woman has to do with her cycle, part of the Nida process, is after sunset. So it also has to do with.
Oh wow, that's a good point. I'm waiting for the moon to come out or something. Wow.
Well, sunset only happens, right, and then the moon comes.
When the moon comes out, right? So that's when the woman can what?
Do the process for checking and
Wow.
whatever.
Wow, there you have it.
Night.
I would never know that. I'm not a woman. But there you have it.
No, Birkat HaLebanon.
Yeah.
So when do we say that? When's the last day to say it? Because I know that we're supposed to do it when there's a full moon, right?
Tonight of Yudalit.
Before the 14th?
No, after the 14th, before the
You mean
Tetra.
starting from Rosh Chodesh until the 14th?
No, study from Zion.
Starting from 7 until, so 1 week?
Yes, yes.
So the 7th night until the 14th night. So 1 week.
Oh, always?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the halacha.
Thank you.
Alright, so we're still within, yesterday was Rosh Chodesh. Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday was Rosh Chodesh.
So
Tuesday.
yesterday was what? Monday?
Monday is yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, I would say you can say it like on Sunday or Monday. I don't know why. I heard that it's better to say it on Tuesday or Motzei Shabbat.
Of this week?
No, anytime that it's Zion
Oh.
and Yudalit between those days, it's better to do it like in Motzei Shabbat or Tuesday.
What was created on Tuesday?
Pa'amayim Kitov? I don't know.
No, what,
It's something of Kabbalah thing.
what was created on Tuesday?
The land or something?
Can you Google it? Maybe the sun and moon was created on Tuesday.
Well, that was the first, that was the second day.
No, that was the second day. Light and darkness was created on
The first day, then Shamayim Ba'aretz, and then the animals.
Wednesday was. I think Wednesday was created sun and moon and stars.
Yeah.
And yeah, Tuesday was dry land and plants, and Wednesday was star, moon, and
Right. So that so I don't know.
Dry land, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought I had the answer. But I guess not it. I don't know. I guess I have to find out. I don't know about the Tuesday and Saturday night thing.
Okay.
Good question. All right.
Oh, yeah. Let the waters under the heaven be gathered onto one place, and let the dry land appears. But every time there's a full moon, what happens to the tides?
It goes
rises.
up. Right.
Something like that.
Probably that's what it is. I don't know. Let's find out. Let's find out. If you have like rabbis to ask them and come back to me with the answer. I really want to know. So now after they Hashem tells the Jewish people about these mitzvot, right? Tells them about the mitzvot, and now goes back. The Chumash goes back to the plague of the firstborns. Now, big question. Out of all 10 plagues, it was the one with the firstborns that made Paro say, "Go." Why was it at the firstborns that Paro had to make them all go? You're gonna answer me because Paro himself was the firstborn and he didn't want to die, which is what I'm gonna respond to you back. Is that the first 9 plagues was threatening his life, yet he was not afraid. So if he survived the first 9 plagues, why wouldn't he survive the last plague either? And by the way, he did survive the last plague.
Even Kiryat Yam Suf, yeah.
Even the ocean, yeah, even the Red Sea, he survived. So that can't be a good answer. So why was it this specific plague that made everybody leave?
because all the other plagues
Uh-huh.
were just affecting his life.
But it could have killed him.
inconvenient. But
It could have killed him. It was inconvenient, but it could have killed him. Because it killed many other Egyptians too. Thirst to death.
What is the question again?
Why, of all 10 plagues, right? How come the plague of firstborns is the one that made Paro say, "Everybody leave"?
He didn't have a son?
He did have a son.
So maybe that's
I think he only had. I'm not sure if he had a son. I think he had a daughter. Batia was the firstborn, but Batia didn't die. So it could have and you may have answered me because he's a firstborn. Paro himself was a firstborn, and he could have died. But I could have answered you back that Hashem wanted him to survive all the plagues for him to see, right? So he would be a survivor basically. Mm-hmm. So what made him want the Jews to leave Israel? Leave Egypt. You leave your children, your wives, your animals, all of you leave ASAP. Go ASAP. After the firstborn. So we're going to answer this question, but before we answer this question, I'm going to tell you what happened in the firstborn plague. We may have said a couple of things last week, but I'm just going to repeat it again. So, the Egyptians did not know that Paro was warned about the firstborn plague. And the Egyptians was already convinced that Moshe, in fact, is a man of Hashem.
He's what?
A man of Hashem. Hashem sent Moshe to do all these plagues. They were already convinced. Even the people who were Paro's sorcerers, as we saw in the Pasuk, at the plague of lice, they all admitted that this is in fact the finger of a god, right? It says in the pasuk, flat out, this is in fact the finger of God. We are just magicians. He is a man of Hashem, Moshe. So we're not even going to disprove that. And furthermore, every time a plague occurs, people die. So it can't be a trick. People actually die. It can't be a trick. So when Moshe finally goes to the palace and tells Paro that this is going to be the final plague, and it's going to kill all firstborns, everybody got scared, except for Paro. So nobody knew this, right? The rest of the country found out about the first plague is only because of the Jewish people told them this, and they then the firstborns of Egypt went to the palace of Paro to protest against him. Free the Jews! Free the Jews! We're gonna die! We don't want to die! And they were all under the assumption Paro himself is a firstborn. So of course he's gonna listen to us. He's also a firstborn. He was also going to want to save his own life, right? But what did he do instead? He closed the gates and kicked them all out. Basically, what did they do in riots? They hosed them all down with water, right? That's what he did. And they were so upset. You don't want to save your own life and you want to take down all of our lives with you? Obviously not. And what happened? They all waged war against Paro and his people. And over 600,000 Egyptians died that night. This is what before the plague. Over 600,000 Egyptians died in that war because that the firstborns were afraid of their lives. So they started a war. Things just got out of hand, and they started killing people. So that was that. So then what happened there? It was so bad, the firstborns. So he said that midnight is when the firstborn plague is gonna happen, right? So you can just imagine what happened. 11:59 and 55 seconds. 56, 57, 58, 59. Clock strike 12. Same time. All the firstborns died. All the moms screaming because of a couple of reasons. Firstborn of the father and the firstborns of the mothers died. So that means people knew whose kid was actually whose parent. So if a couple was under the assumption that this kid is my firstborn, but why is he still alive? It must be that you're not my firstborn. You probably were with somebody else, and that's the firstborn. While that family was saying, you're not the firstborn, so why are you dead? It must be that my wife or husband has been with somebody else. So all these mix-ups, people were starting to realize who's a real firstborn and who's a fake firstborn. Okay? So that was that. Every family has somebody. Sometimes, and their idols also, and by the way, in the plague, their idols was also crumbling down. All the idols that they had in the house was crumbling down, whatever, made of wood, made of stone, all crumbling down. Firstborns was very, very high status in Egypt. So when a family would lose their firstborn child before the plague, they would put a picture on the wall of this kid, and they were not really idolizing it, but putting it as an icon. This is my firstborn child who had died. That picture would get ruined, would all crumple down, all ripped up, ruined, and just burn away. Not only that, the dogs of Egypt would go to the graveyards of those firstborns, dig it up, and eat the bones. So that was if a family did not have a firstborn child in that household because it already died, that kid will go to death again. Because the graves were being dug up by these dogs. So, yeah, I know, it's crazy. So then, I'm reading around that dogs even invaded the city of the dead, digging up human bones and chewing on them. For parents of such firstborns, it was as if their child had died a second time. And Paro became so scared because he found out what's going on. The Jewish people are okay, but my people, the screams, the dogs, the idols, though everyone's dying, and I'm a firstborn too. It looks like this is real stuff. It's gonna happen. So he went out, and he was a madman, because as he was running around, he was killing people as he was going. So he was getting so scared, he didn't know what to do, start killing people in his own palace. Went to Goshen, where the Jewish quarters were. Where's Moshe? Where's Aaron? And like a good Jewish people are, Yashar, 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 Ada Sof, Ada Kikar, Achrekar Smola. You know how it is in Israel, right? Go straight, 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 up until the roundabout, make a left. And they were just giving him wrong advice. So he was running back and forth looking for them. Running over here, no, oh, sorry, just joking, it was over there. No, oh, make it right, it's over there. And making him go crazy. So imagine what he was going through in his heart. I'm about to die. This is not a joke. He finally finds him. You, your wives, your children, and your animals, go do what you said you're going to do. But you have to do it fast. And listen to the words that he was saying. Both you and Israel, go worship God as you have requested. And what was the request that Moshe did? Let us leave for a 3-day journey to sacrifice to Hashem. So even at this point, Paro was expecting them to return. You can leave, take all your stuff with you for 3 days, and then come back. That's what Paro was thinking. Even at this point, he still wanted them to come back. Okay? So he was telling them, leave, fast, go, fast. And even says right here. Yeah, okay, so we said that. So even at that point, he still wanted them to come back. Thank you. So now the question, like what we said before, what's the big deal? They had 9 plagues, and only this one's gonna bring them back. So here's the answer. In the Haggadah, it says that the Haggadah of Passover, it says, if Hashem didn't redeem us in that second, we would have stayed there forever. Right? You're familiar with that, right? Forever meaning up until today. Can you imagine being born into Egypt, into slavery today? So, if it was slavery, Jewish people slavery under Egypt till today, I'm sure Abraham Lincoln would free the slaves, right? I'm sure Martin Luther King would free the slaves also, right? I'm sure people will get up and say, Egypt, stop enslaving the Jewish people. It's been thousands of years now. I'm sure, but Haggadah is saying that if you never let us go that second, we would have stayed there forever.
It would already have been the norm. That's why.
It would already have been a norm, right? But I just mentioned 2 great people who freed the slaves. Like, how is Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King gonna free the African American community from slavery while the Jewish people are still on the slave ship, no matter how normal it is? You understand? So what do you mean? How are we gonna be there forever? How is that possible? So 2 reasons, 2 things, right? When we were in Egypt, we were sunk into 49 levels of impurities. There's 50 levels of Kedusha, 50 levels of impurities. Just like there's 50 levels of Kedusha, also comes back to 50 levels of impurities. We were in the 49th level of impurity. Had we reached the 50th level of impurity, we would have been gone forever. That was it. But the only difference is, for them and for us, is that today we can be in the 60th level of impurity and we still be Jewish people because we have the Torah. The Torah is the reason why we get out of our mud, of our dirt, of our impurity, because we have the Torah to cling back on. And the Torah tells us it's internal. I am internal, the Torah says, and so are you. So no matter what, you're always going to get out of it. They did not have the Torah to do this to them. Moshe probably did. Abraham probably did. But the Jewish people, did not have it. So they probably would have stayed there forever. That's one. Number 2, I told you, I gave you a couple of reasons. I gave you a couple of examples, right? Who died in the firstborn plague? Who died? I just said it. Who died in the firstborn plague? The firstborns, right? Firstborns of animals also. The firstborns of mother and father, so Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you are firstborn of your father. If you're from your mother, also you die. And it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. Boy and girl both are first. Any of them firstborn will die. What else? The idols. Who else?
The paintings and the dogs.
The dogs, right? The one who ate the ones who ate the bones of the firstborns, right? Anything else we missing?
Paintings.
The paintings, right? Okay. That's it.
Animals.
Animals, we said.
You know why Bata didn't die?
Because she was the one who saved Moshe.
And I heard that at that moment when she was in the Nile, she was converting Judaism.
Right. We said that.
And Bat, means the daughter of God.
Yeah.
And the Pharaoh gave her that name.
Really?
Because he's God, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, I heard that from Rabbi Bricks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. So, and one more thing. And the Plague of Firstborns died. So I don't know if you remember, but a couple of weeks ago I said that Egypt was so powerful in sorcery that they were in charge. They can control angels. They knew where to put angels and how to use their powers of angels. And they didn't believe in God, obviously. As we know, Pharaoh said, first of all, I looked in the book of gods and I didn't see your Hashem. So who is he? That's one. Number two, because when Moshe came up to Pharaoh and he said that Hashem told me X, Y, and Z, Moshe called to Pharaoh and said Hashem said X, Y, and Z. Hashem is the one who controls the whole universe. While idol worship back in the day always had a god for X, another god for B, a god for Y, had gods for separate different things. They can't fathom that one God controls everything. Okay? And not only that, they can't fathom that there's one God. Forget about controlling everything. There's only one. They will believe in that multiple polygamy. They were a polygamistic nation that believed in multiple of gods. Abraham was the first one to introduce to the world that there is one God, a monogamistic belief, one God belief. So then Moshe comes and says that my God, our God, one God, says that you have to free the Jewish people. So he didn't believe that. So they believed in angels being like those quote unquote gods that controls whatever it is. So what did the Egyptians do who were able to control angels? They put their angel of Egypt as the firstborn of all the other angels. Okay? No other angel is able to go up to this firstborn angel of Egypt. So that makes Egypt the most powerful country of the world. So, I'm to repeat it again? Okay. They were able to control all angels
Of the world.
Okay? They didn't believe in one God. So there is, what is it? It becomes inanimate objects, dirt, sand, soil, dirt, all this stuff, right? Then goes vegetation, right? Plants, trees, bushes, flowers. Then goes animals. Then goes people. Then goes what after people? Constellations, stars, astrology, sun, moon, planets, where things are. We can tell where things go. We can look at them and imagine what, how it used to be. I still on the stars, your luck, right? Above that, it goes angels. And that is as furthest Egypt idol worshippers would go. Angels, that's it. We don't go any further than angels. And from the power of rain, the power of wind, the power of lightning, the power of fire, power of animals, power of ground, of atmosphere, has their own power, has their own angel, has their own constellation, their own star that controls it. But in these plagues that was happening, it was all coming from one source, Moshe, from God. What was happening? What was it? Let's go one by one. I control water because I can turn it to blood if I want. I control everything in the water. Frogs will come out of it. Fish will die. And then we move on to earth. I control earth. If I want, I'll make it to lice. I control everything on the earth, the animals. And then I can kill them if I want. Right? What was next? Sicknesses of animals. Then goes
humans.
Boils. I control you too. I can make you boils too, if I want. I can tell you you're gonna get boils and you're not. Your fish is gonna die and yours not. Your water will turn into blood, but yours won't. I control that. I'm one God. I control everything. I can control the atmosphere. Hail will fall on you. That's mixed with fire and ice. Because I can control what's in the atmosphere with elements. I control the winds. And if I want, they can all blow grasshoppers at you. And you will get infected, but they won't. I can do that. I can control even above atmosphere, out of space, darkness. I can control that too. And you know what else I can control? I can control your angels that you think is God. I can control that. You can decide who's a firstborn. I decide who's a firstborn. And I decide that your angel, who you made to a firstborn, I'm knocking it out. It's not a firstborn anymore. And all the Egyptians started to bug out. How can there be a higher power than my angel? You understand? Now you understand what made them realize there's a God? They can't be that my angel, who's a Bechor, is now knocked out by a higher power. Because their minds go as far as angels go. But there's a higher power than that. And I'm knocking it out, whatever you think is the highest power. And now they all believe, okay, there is a higher power than angels. It's called Hashem. And Hashem is going to knock down our firstborn. So now it makes sense of what I said, what the Haggadah is saying, right? The Haggadah is saying, if we were never out of Egypt, that point, that Makat Bechorot, if that never happened, then the angel of Egypt would have still been the Bechor, and every other angel of Israel, angel of America, angel of Europe, angel of Africa, would have still been the second child, quote unquote, second child of Hashem, second angel under the Bechor of Egypt. And there's no way any angel is going above that. Because what happens? If there's a war between two countries, it means there's a war between two angels. And whichever of the angels win is who's going to win down here. But if the Egypt is the firstborn, then there's no war between anybody. Egypt is always going to win. Egypt is always up there. But if there's a God above that angel, he's going to knock it down. And that's what made all of the Egyptians scared of Hashem, scared for their lives, because the Jews, again, is nothing happening to the Jews. And it even says in the pasuk over here,
But wouldn't that be the point with already the third punishment? Since they say that this is the finger of God, so that now they know that there's a higher force than their angels.
Yeah, but if you remember what we said yesterday, that
they can do that too.
The lice?
Blood,
No lice.
if you remember last week, we said that Hashem hardened Paro's heart. So even if Paro would have said, yeah, fine, go, Hashem didn't want that.
What about the nation?
The nations all were telling Paro to let them go.
All of these Makot.
Yeah, no, I mean from like later on they were saying stop, because who's the one suffering at the end of the day? Not Paro, them, right? Stop already. Just let them go. You don't need to win this war. You can't. And that's what there was a war already. There was literally already a war. And what was I looking for? So yeah, so there was that. So now the firstborn of Egypt was knocked out. It made Hashem then put upon the firstborns of, the angel of Israel became the new firstborn. Like Yaakov purchased the firstborn of Esav. Okay? So that was what was made all the Egyptians realize that there is a higher power than what we think there is. So go. Everybody go. All of you go. And yeah, so that was the wonders of the Plague of the Firstborn.
So why was he still scared of the 10th plague? Just because, again, it goes back because he's the firstborn. That's why he was scared, because he knew.
Not because he himself was the firstborn. Even more, the picture is bigger than that. The greater picture is that the firstborn of Egypt was knocked out. And if he was knocked out, who am I?
Okay.
Because you could kill anybody you want. You can give me all the plagues in the world that you want. You can kill me 10 times. But if he's still up there, no one's ever going to win. But if he's knocked out, none of us have hope down here. And no matter how hard we try to bring him back up, Hashem's never gonna let that happen, right? So there's obviously a higher power than angels, and we just don't know about it. So this is what made all the Egyptians realize and scared, because this is real stuff, and we've been fighting with this God this whole time. That was what allowed Paro to understand that there is a God, and our angels, I just destroyed my own angel. Basically, that's what it was. So now we're going to go on to the Zera Shimshon. And the Zera Shimshon says in Parashat Bo, if you refuse to send forth my people, behold, tomorrow I shall bring a locust swarm into your border. To this, Paro said, I see that the evil is before your faces. That's the pasuk, okay? This is Perek Yud, pasuk Yud. See, we're good on time. We're good on time. The Midrash Shmos Rabbah points out that Hashem was telling the Egyptians that the grasshoppers would specifically remain within the borders of Egypt, like I said in the beginning of the year, right? And would not enter the country of Ham, because they were in war with Ham. So the borders needs to be distinguished between Egypt and Ham's. I said Canaan, so this is Ham. Okay, there you have it. Corrected myself. So the Midrash seems to imply that only grasshoppers was the only plague that covered the borders of Egypt, which is strange because they went through 7 plagues beforehand, and only now they begin to realize what's the real borders of Egypt, right? So the Zera Shimshon is asking this question: how come only now, the grasshoppers, do you now know what is the real borders of Egypt and what is the real borders of Ham? Because in fact, apparently the grasshoppers, so there was a Jewish quarter, right? Goshen it's called. All the Jews were living in this area, and this area was not affected by any of the plagues ever. So it was kind of like a circle with an empty spot of no plagues being destructed by it. So you couldn't really tell which is the real borders. But the grasshoppers actually did go to the Jewish part of Egypt, which is Goshen. The grasshoppers actually did go to Goshen. And then the surrounding countries was able to distinguish what is truthfully their border and what's not truthfully their border. The question will be, why did they go to the Jewish places? I thought all plagues, the Jewish people should not suffer, right? And that's what Paro said. I see that the evil of the grasshoppers is before them also, before their faces. But what Paro did not know, and what we will learn from the Zera Shimshon, is that what does it say here? The ones that went to the Jewish quarters were, first of all, kosher grasshoppers. So the Jewish people was able to eat those grasshoppers. So it was more of a benefit for the Jews to have those grasshoppers. Why did the wind blow the grasshoppers out of there? So the Egyptians shouldn't have enjoyment from it, right? So why did they go to the Jewish quarters? So the Jews could have enjoyment from it. Alright, and that's the Zera Shimshon. I'm just going to real quick get the Baal Turim, because we said that we're going to start doing Baal Turim, remember? So I'm quickly going to get that.
Just gonna prepare myself. Just gonna prepare myself.
Oh, okay.
In the first 3 plagues, it showed that there is a God stronger than the Egyptians. The second set of 3 plagues, it showed that God controls the earthly matters.
Yeah.
Because the animals went crazy and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the next 3, it was about how God does things out of you say this, like you can't imagine unimaginable things.
Right.
Just like I was thinking about the locusts, because that kind of compares to the lice and the wild beasts. But now you said that now it's on the borders, Like,
Yeah.
wow, like a precision and everything. That's literally unimaginable.
Unimaginable,
Yeah.
right? Exactly. Like they knew exactly where they had to be. All of them. Like they all worked together. And they weren't one type of a locust. There were 7 different types of locusts together. So imagine like I don't know, Hasidim, Litvaks, Bukharians, Georgians, all coming together. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter like where your minhag is, where you eat, but we all have one common enemy.
Nice comparison.
Yeah, thanks. So the blood shall be a sign for you. So when Hashem was saying that, at this point Hashem is saying to the Jewish people to slaughter the lamb, take the lamb blood and put a blood over your doors, okay? And the blood shall be a sign for you. The gematria of the word lachem is equal to that of the word hamilah, which means circumcision. Because on that night, the Jewish people were circumcised. And the word le'ot, which means a sign, is spelled without a vav. And because it's spelled without a vav, the gematria is 431. And this number signifies that they were all freed, 431 years later of when Yitzchak had his circumcision. Yitzchak had circumcision. 431 years later, all the Jews had their circumcisions. Okay? Because from the time of redemption until Yitzchak was born was 430 years. Right? But a year later is when they all got out, basically. So 430 years later before that was when Yitzchak had his circumcision. So in the word le'ot, which means a sign, does not have a vav, usually has a vav, has a gematria of 431, and this is the number that signifies when Yitzchak had his circumcision, which was 431 years before the Jewish people. Chazak Baruch.